Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at some rather cool looking fans from Coolmoon. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so today we'll be taking a look at some fans from Coolmoon. Now this is a 3-pack. Now there are lots of different variations of this particular style of fan. So if you want one which has got maybe addressable RGB connectivity to your motherboard, or maybe you want one that goes to the rhythm of music, that kind of stuff, there are various options available. Also as well, it comes in a 3-pack, a 4-pack, a 5-pack, a 6-pack, and various other options. So we will be putting some links in the video description. They're not affiliated links, but please feel free to check them out. And if you like these fans, then certainly feel free to buy some. So let's take a look at the packaging first of all. This packaging is a little bit beaten up. Unfortunately, this has come from, I believe it was AliExpress or Banggood, one of those types of companies. And rather than packaging it actually in some outer packaging, they literally just put tape all around it. So you can probably see there are some markings on there. So yeah, they've saved some money on postage, which is great because actually this particular set you can pick up for around about £20 including postage, which for 3 fans and a controller I think is pretty good value for money, although that is if they look good and if they actually work. So let's take a look at the packaging, go through the unboxing, we'll hook them up to a power supply so you can see what they actually look like, and then we'll come back at the end with my final thoughts. So first of all, packaging wise, you can see on the front is from Coolmoon, and these are the 120mm RGB cooling fans. Yeah, cool, skylent and stylish. Little typo there, but don't worry about that. Pretty standard affair. On the side, goes into some detail of how to actually connect it all up, which is actually really handy because there's no actual instructions inside here. So essentially you go from that and that is pretty much it. Although to be honest with you, they are very, very simplistic, especially this particular kit. Literally, you plug in one connector to a Molex on a power supply. You've also got an included remote control to control everything from. So yeah, it is pretty simple to use. On the side of the box goes into some of the specifications, so we'll quickly drill down through that. So these are 120 by 120 by 25mm, so standard fan size. So if you're thinking of putting these in the system and replacing your existing 120mm fans, it should be absolutely fine. They are rainbow RGB. They've got an RPM of anywhere between 0 and 1200 RPM, plus or minus 10%. They have a rated airflow of 38.5 CFM, which isn't the highest, but certainly will move a certain amount of air. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on your case, filtration, etc., etc., so your mileage may vary. Has a hydro bearing, a D-type connector, and runs on 12V DC plus 5 volts. Rated power per fan is 4.2 watts, and a lifetime of 30,000 hours, and a sound level of 25 dBA. Going through the packaging, again, pretty simplistic, not a great deal in here. So let's start off with, first of all, we've got the actual control box itself, and as you can see, it's got the Coolmoon logos on there. Pretty much, again, standard deal. If you've seen this type of controller before, essentially you've seen them all. The only slight differences are the connectivity on this end. So this is your main power connection, which is a Molex, sadly. But you do have options on the side there for connecting up a reset switch from your case or another push button switch. So you can cycle through the LEDs or turn them on, turn them off, that kind of thing. There is another hole on the side there, which on this version is actually blanked out. There's nothing actually in there. But there is a version of this which does actually have an output on the side which will connect to both PWM and addressable RGB connectors on most modern motherboards. So again, if you do want to have these controlled by your motherboard, then you will have to get the slightly more expensive kit, albeit they are only a couple of pounds dearer, so certainly worth bearing in mind. This particular unit, as with most of them, will connect up to 10 fans. So we've got fans 1 to 5 on one side and 6 to 10 on the other. Also, there's an option as well. They do have some specific LED strips which you can also purchase, which have a very similar design as well, with that kind of crystalline effect on the sides. Again, we'll take a look at that when we look at the fans themselves. On the back, there is a pre-included and pre-attached self-adhesive pad, so you can stick it into your case or to the bottom, whatever. One of the nice things about this is actually it's designed to be on display. This unit itself actually does have addressable RGB, which matches what the fans are doing. So certainly you can put this in a pride of place in your PC if you wanted to, but again, alternatively, if you want to, you can just hide it out of the way. The choice is entirely up to you. Next up is the included remote control. So this is RF remote control, and on there you've got various buttons to control various features. So you've got a on, auto, and off. In auto mode, it basically goes through all the color cycles. I think there's about 64 different types of color cycles on there, so it will just keep on looping around and basically like a demonstration display. You can of course turn them all off, and you can, if you want, turn them back on again with the green button. Pretty much self-explanatory there. You've got a speed plus and minus, which is for controlling the speed of the fans themselves, so there's variable control on the fan speeds. There doesn't appear to be any option of actually changing the RGB speed, so if you're into Unicorn Puke and you want it to set it to other items in your case, then you may struggle to get it to actually sync properly with the rest of the system. But again, this is a budget set, so you shouldn't be expecting too much out of it. Also, you've got the mode buttons, and also you've got brightness levels there, so you can change the brightness of the LEDs in the fans and also the RGB strips. And of course, you've got quick access to the various colors there, white, pink, etc, etc. The unit itself is powered by a standard CR2025 battery, so if the battery does go flat, nice and easy to replace and pretty cheap to do so. Also included, obviously, we've got 3 fans in this particular set, and also there's 3 sets of mounting screws. So let's take a look at an individual fan to begin with. So we've got a 6-pin proprietary connector, which is only for the Coolmoon. You possibly could splice these if you wanted to, so if you're feeling that way inclined, you could break these down into 3-pin for fan and 3-pin for addressable RGB. Obviously, depending on your level of competence electrically and what you're prepared to do, then you might just decide to get fans which have got that as standard anyway, but certainly it is potentially an option. The fan itself, nice looking fan actually. I like the display on the side, the kind of this kind of crystal effect that they've got, which is really nice. Very reminiscent of certain RGB RAM brands that we've seen over the years. So yeah, very nice looking fan indeed. Also, you've got these opaque blades as well to allow the RGB to spill through. Now, the reason why most people would probably go for a fan of this type of design is to get the maximum out of your addressable RGB. So obviously, from the front view, as you can see, you're going to see the fan blades, and the opaque design is going to let that RGB shine through. Obviously as well, if you're mounting these in a case, either in this position or that position, you are going to see a tremendous amount of RGB bleeding out through the sides there, through that crystal effect. So like the PC behind me, as you can see with the Uphere fans, you can see there is a little bit of RGB bleeding out through the sides. Some fans that Coolmoon actually do, this is all kind of blacked off. So if you do mount them in a kind of horizontal or vertical style where you see side on, you're not going to see a great deal. So if you do like your RGB, this is really going to let it all bleed right out. Also included as well, you've got rubberized pads in all 4 corners on both sides as well. So depending on how you're mounting it, if you're mounting it to a radiator or depending on how your case is set up, then you have got rubberized pads there to eliminate some noise and vibrations. The cable itself is 50 centimeters long, so you've got a pretty decent distance there. Obviously, you might have to consider where, if you're putting maybe 6 of these in a PC case, maybe 2 in the top, 1 in the back, 3 up front, you may have to consider where you're going to route your cables and also where you're going to mount your controller. Obviously, because it is only 50 centimeters and no obvious way of extending them, then yeah, you could run into some issues with slightly larger cases. On the back of the fan, sadly, it doesn't really give us a great deal of information. It's just got the Coolmoon logo on there. No real specifications as such, but obviously looking at the box, you can see some of it. It doesn't actually give you any of the air pressure ratings on the fans, and actually on the site as well, there's no mention of it whatsoever. So I would say realistically these are designed as case fans, and they are limited in what they can actually do as in pressure. I certainly wouldn't mount them to a radiator, although obviously if you wanted to you could do, but they're not really specifically optimized for that particular use. So that's a brief introduction to the items inside the box. Let's get out a power supply and see what they're actually looking like. Okay, so we've got our power supply hooked up to the mains, and we've got an adapter on there so it powers up. Now with this being Molex, you can't just hot plug it, so you do make sure that your power supply is actually switched off, and this one, yep, is currently off. So Molex power connector into the actual control box, so let's get that out of the way first of all. So now we've got the option to install our fans. Now they do say on these you should really install the first fan into port number 1, actually on the box itself. So have a look at the printing on there and find number 1. Get your 6-pin connector and plug it into the fan header. So you don't have to go fan 1, fan 2, fan 3, etc. You can pretty much do whatever you want. So again, when it comes to cable management, if you wanted to, you could have 1 on fan 1, 1 on fan 6, and 1 on fan 10, for example. That isn't a problem at all. You can just plug those straight in, and again, depending where they're mounted, you may find that actually works out better and gives you a very slightly amount of extra cable room. But anyway, so that is that connected up. So let's have our fans there and make sure nothing's touching, and let's turn them on, see what they're actually like. And there we go. They actually do look really nice. As default, when they come on straight away, they are, I believe, on possibly the highest fan setting, so let's just double check that. Yep, so they do turn on in the highest fan setting. I don't believe they actually remember the settings that are actually in there. They do for the RGB, but not possibly for the fan speed, but we'll certainly check that. So using the speed minus button, we'll go through and press once. And they've gone down to what is essentially pretty much a silent mode. This is on a desk, so obviously there is a little bit of noise coming through anyway. But even so, with them on the kind of lower speed setting, actually still putting through a little bit of air, so that's pretty decent. And also silent. Do another one. So this is another speed setting. And these are virtually off. Yep, those two have turned off. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. They are making a slightly odd noise, so perhaps they're not really designed to go down that low. Let's just turn them up a little bit. So the middle speed, that seems fine. Put them down one. Go down another. And they all sound like they want to stop. Yeah, those definitely do. So which one is still running? So that is fan number 1. So I'm going to try now and see if actually it does make a difference where you plug them in. Because I may have been leading you down the garden path slightly with that. I'm not sure if you can hear it coming through on the microphone. I think Kath can probably hear it because her eyebrows are raised. So there is a kind of an odd resistance going on there. Let's turn it on. So that is the fans off. Let's do speed 1 up. Kind of grinding to a halt there. I'm not sure what's going on there. Next speed up. Yeah, we've got a very similar thing happening there. So next one up again. That is absolutely fine and silent, so that works as it should. Next one up. And I believe that is on full blast. So let's take them down one. So the second speed setting, I think, for most people is probably going to be where you're going to want to leave it. I'm not too sure what's going on with the control there. Actually, maybe we should try... We'll put fan 1 into fan 6 and see if this makes any difference to the actual control. Nope, we are getting that weird noise gain, and yeah, bizarrely this fan is the only one that keeps on going. So let's unplug that. We'll go down a speed. Not good. I can't deal with that noise. So there's definitely something a little bit quirky about this controller. I have used some of these controllers before and they've been pretty decent. This could be a one-off, so I'm not entirely sure. This was actually sent to us by one of the viewers, Ugly Bob, so thank you Ugly Bob for sending it to us. Yeah, it does seem there is a slight weirdness about the controller. Previously I think I've used ones which have had a SATA controller, which did seem to be pretty much perfect. So there potentially is some limitations with this if you're using this on a Molex connector and you want to use it on the slower fan speeds. But I think realistically, if you consider these as being kind of a 2-speed fan, so you've got kind of like your low speed and you've got your high speed. Now if I lift these up off the desk so you don't hear any vibrations, so they're actually pretty silent. All you can really hear is the movement of air there. So again, that is on the highest speed. You can probably now hear a little bit of vibration coming through the desk, so let's put them down one level. Yeah, I think that is where I personally would kind of probably leave them. Yeah, not too bad. So I would say that they certainly do seem to look a lot nicer than they actually perform. Just go through some of the modes. So that's auto. So again, that is your kind of unicorn puke. The lighting isn't particularly great for this, so maybe we'll kill the lights a minute and we'll go through the lighting patterns. So there we go, we've got a little bit of darkness going on now. So again, this is in the auto mode. So let's go through some of the settings. Actually, is that on the brightest setting? So yeah, they will actually go quite bright and the camera is being dazzled. So let's take them down so you can actually see what they look like. So that is, yeah, that is on the lowest setting. So we'll leave it on that, so that looks okay. Obviously you've got your reds, green, blue, yellow, and various other options there. The single white actually is very bright. It's a nice, clear, crisp white, not the combo white which you normally see. So there is definitely a kind of like a white option in there rather than being a combination of all the colours to try and emulate white. So that's all good. Mode wise, again, usual kind of stuff. And as you can possibly make out as well, the controller does actually go through the colours as well. So if you wanted to have that on display, you certainly can do. Although that does appear to be a little bit hit and miss actually to what the colours are on there. So it's not exact, but it does follow on a little bit. There's definitely some interesting patterns going on there. That's quite a nice one, where it builds up, goes through the colours. Again, if you've got this in the front of a PC, it's going to look quite impressive. Again, you do have to consider, I know I've said it already and I'll say it again, you do have to consider these are very much what I would consider a budget set of fans. The fact that you've got no control from the PC on this particular set is a little bit of a limitation. Again, if you're buying one of those really cheap PCs, perhaps maybe something like the AeroCool, the split RGB, which we reviewed, you can check out up here. You could put some of these into that. You're basically paying £20 for the case, £20 for an extra set of fans, and you'd have an awful lot of bling for your money there. You may struggle to get all the RGB to work together. Actually, I'll turn the brightness up there instead of changing the modes. There's some very, very interesting colour patterns going on there. They are quite bright as well. Again, the camera doesn't particularly show them off to their best, but you can see the through the side there. The actual glow through the side is very, very nice. I do like that a lot. Again, put onto certain colours, you probably see it better than others. Wow, that is bright. So you can see the effect actually on the unit there. It does look very, very nice. So I think that's it for the colours. Obviously you've seen what the colours are like. The noise is absolutely fine. They're not overly noisy even on the highest setting. My slight concern is the controller's ability to limit or regulate the fans as they should do. Now these do sell by the absolute truckload on places like AliExpress and Alibaba, all that kind of stuff. And for good reason. Again, cheap and cheerful. 3 fans and a controller for the best part of £20 posted is exceptionally good value. Maybe if you were to go something like the Antec Saturns, then obviously you're paying considerably more, but you do get more for your money, more flexibility of control, and obviously a slightly better quality fan also. But for nearly double the price, so there is that to look into. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up, a quick look and see what the fans are like. Again, to summarise, I think the main takeaway of this is they're cheap and cheerful. £20 isn't a lot to spend on 3 fans and a controller and a remote control, all that kind of stuff. Quality control wise, maybe that potentially is an issue with the fans not ramping down as they should do. I'm imagining that's more to do with the Molex connectivity rather than it is the actual controller, because again, I've used this controller on a SATA based system and they were absolutely fine. So yeah, you may find that if you get some, you may not actually like the fan control setting, in which case you might be better off going for the SATA one or perhaps a slightly different controller. But anyway, let us know in the comments section what you think about these. Are this something you'd put into a cheap and cheerful build to flip a PC system? A little bit of RGB bling just to sell one of those older systems? Or would you put it into a modern system and have it to try and coordinate with fans you've already got? Do let us know. Interested to hear what your thoughts are. So these have been the Coolmoon fans. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.